So a lot of people will come in and say, what's an implant? And generally, the vast majority of implants are a three-piece process. This is a model that we use to show patients, and there's three pieces. This is the crown, and this is a type of an abutment. There's hundreds of types of abutments. There's abutments that hold crowns, as we see here, and then there's abutments that hold dentures, like snaps, or there's an abutments that look like bars and also hold a full arch of fixed teeth. Then when you get to the abutments, there's a world of an abutments in the crown category. This is probably one of the most basic ones. It's we call it a prefabricated abutment. In other words, we just buy it from the manufacturer and we make the crown fit to it. I think one of the most advanced abutments on the market available is, and the advanced technology is uber cool. I'll just say that. It's made out of zirconia, which is kind of white like this. They've come a long way in the technology of zirconias that we can make them not just this opaque white, but we can get them to be translucent and also reflect and iridesce, that it's more beautiful than a tooth. And we can get the abutments to do this. And so when you look at it, it looks like it's going through the crown, bouncing off of the abutment just like it does a tooth. And in some ways, because you can control the reflection and what the colors are, like a pearl or a diamond, where you see a lot of pinks and blues, you can just really make them sparkle and be beautiful. And next to a tooth, they actually look better a lot of the times because they shine through the gum as well in that way. And a tooth, especially if a tooth has had a root canal, can look really dark. And sometimes aging teeth, they're kind of yellow or gray. And so when you get these zirconia abutments in, suddenly you realize, oh, this is what it could look like. So they're beautiful, and they're definitely state-of-the-art. They're also incredibly strong, not like old-fashioned ceramics where the porcelains might break. Now they can control the strength of it so that it doesn't wear your own enamel too much. So it's not stronger than your own enamel or harder than your own enamel in that specification, but that it's soft enough where the opposing enamel doesn't wear, but it's not so brittle that it has a tendency to fracture at a certain width. And that technology is improving dramatically. So you could literally just take a hammer and pound them and they're perfectly fine. So you can put a lot of force on it, a lot of impact force, like you would chewing, where a tiny little dot and there's hundreds of pounds of force on that dot, which would obviously make a ceramic plate or a ceramic, anything even flooring that's made out of ceramics. If it's not hardened in enough, in a similar manner to these zirconias, they'll break as well as fracture. The process to harden them is intense heat, thousands of degrees Fahrenheit, and pressure. And the controlling that gives its properties. So these two parts are needed to restore an implant. And then you have the implant. The implant is the part that goes into the bone. And these come in literally hundreds, if not thousands, of different types. There's probably the most 25 of the top most popular systems, or 4 or 5 of the most prevalent systems. But this is, most of them are titanium. There's different grades of titanium. You can have commercially pure titanium, which is a little soft, and sometimes, those might fracture. So then they'll add harder metals to them to give it still mostly the qualities of a very biocompatible titanium, but make it hard enough so it won't fracture. And so we don't want them to fracture because we want to be able to put hundreds of pounds of impact force on them, and they're still okay. So the vast majority are titanium, and then there's all kinds of thread patterns and bio-friendly shapes. This particular one is one that is designed, this manufacturer is called Astra, and it has tiny microscopic threads at the gingival crevice, and that's to keep epithelium, which is your gum, from being able to not attach to it. So if for any reason, after this implant is placed and the bone is right up to here, and if you have any bone loss, then we want still the gum to attach to the implant, because if it doesn't attach, then it really starts to recede rapidly, and then there's a possibility, you could lose an implant in the very same manner that you can lose a tooth from recession. So this thread pattern helps prevent recession along the implant right here at the tip. And then there's a much more extreme thread pattern apically where the bone can attach to, and it's literally mechanically screwed into the bone, and this provides not only a mechanical but also a biological attachment of bone. And so this is probably the most prevalently type of design going right now. Something new that we've been using, which I really love, are the zirconia implants, which for those who want to avoid titanium metals, then the zirconia ceramics are fabulous. And zirconia is actually considered on the periodic table to be in the metal category, but they take on a lot of the properties of the ceramic zirconium, like a zirconium ring. So it's really beautiful. So these are basically the three components of an implant restoration. You have the implant, then you have some sort of abutment, prefabricated or custom made. The custom mades can be zirconias and ceramics and be beautiful and scallop along the gum line, and they're not a tin can shaped where they're just straight around. So they follow along the gum line. The gum is a lot happier, healthier to be following a natural scallop. And so the custom zirconia abutments are beautiful and very nice. And then you can put your custom zirconia crown on them. And so those are the three components of an implant system.